What's going on, guys? It's UrAvgConsumer, and today we have a special unboxing, and you saw the title. We got those new M1 devices, and we have all of them inside of here. So let's do a quick unboxing, kind of take a look at Apple's latest products, because there's a lot of new territory that we need to cover. So let's jump in. Seriously, what happened to all our other knives?
Honestly,
Like I haven't seen anything but the kunais ever since they came in. All right, let's see what we got. Ooh. First things first, we got that Mac Mini. So there are 3 new products. As you can see, we have the Mac Mini over here, the MacBook Air over here, and of course, the new 13-inch MacBook Pro. So with all of these, you get Apple's new M1 chip. Hold on, let me clean here up. So here we have them, guys. These are all of Apple's latest products featuring their new M1 chip. And for those of you who aren't familiar, you're like, what is this M1 chip that I'm hearing about? So basically the chip that's the brains inside of all of these, Apple has created their very own to make it work quite a bit more efficiently and more powerfully. So you're gonna be able to get more for your money with these new products. So we're gonna test that all out. I'll explain a little bit more, but let's get to some unboxing. And I feel like we gotta start off with the Air, because that's like the go-to average consumer product. All right, so we got the Air box over here. And let's see, I've got 8 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of storage. Let's pop this guy out. Here we have very similar MacBook Air design. We have a USB C to C cable. So of course, that's what we use to charge it. And we've got a tiny little 30-watt power brick to charge it up over here. And paperwork, stickers, nice stickers. Oh, these actually, oh, they're the same color. Yeah, that's kind of dope. All right, let's open it up. Now, this is obviously in the space gray color. Feels like a MacBook Air. And just so you guys know, we got 2 Thunderbolt ports over here on the left side, as well as a headphone jack on the right. And that's all your ports. It's a MacBook Air, it's minimal. All right, so let's open this thing up. And before we even do that, one of the benefits of the M1 chip is like this instant on. So the same kind of instant on that you get from your iPhone or your iPad, where you just press the button, your screen's on, you're ready to go. We're supposed to be able to get that here thanks to the M1 chip. So jumping right into the laptop like a phone, sounds good.
They brought back the sound.
The sound, yeah, the iconic sound. So we're gonna let this thing load up first for the first time. I'll probably do a little bit of logging in, signing in, that kind of stuff. And then we'll see what that instant on is like. Okay guys, so our baby is all set up. Lots of new things to talk about with the Air specifically, but first, I really wanna do the instant on thing. So I'm gonna close this. Alexa, turn off Man Cave. Set the mood.
You touch and go, but don't you know?
How cool is that?
So that was pretty instant. But all jokes aside, check it out, guys. The second you open it up, boom.
Oh.
There's like no nothing. You just in there. Let's see. Make sure that screen is off. Like, oh man, it's crazy. I just do a little boop. Ha! What more could you ask for, right? Okay, so these new laptops have that instant on feature, so you're jumping right in here so that you can get to work right away, which is dope. And of course, the power button has Touch ID, so you can use that with your fingerprint. But what's also new with the MacBook Air is that with this new M1 chip, they've now got a fanless design. So what does that mean? Typically, when you have like a laptop, you have a fan inside to make sure everything stays nice and cool so that it can run optimally for as long as possible. But because the M1 chip is so optimally tuned to work with the software and everything, and it's so power efficient, basically you don't really need that fan to sustain good performance. So one thing that's gonna be interesting to see is if this thing gets hot at all, But what's a nice perk of no fans is no matter how much you push this thing, if you're doing something really intensive, it's gonna stay silent no matter what. It's going to be an extremely quiet laptop, and that's pretty impressive. But with this new M1 chip, there's a lot more power to be had. This is many times better than last year's model in terms of power. So now we're actually gonna be able to do some hardcore work with the MacBook Air. This is a first for it, and I'm interested in seeing how it performs, especially with no fans. Now, what's awesome about this M1 chip and all this power is that even with increased power and all that, we're still gonna get better battery life. Now, Apple has greatly improved the battery life. I believe they said up to 15 hours of usage and up to 18 hours of like video playback, which is crazy, guys. Out of everything, that is probably the most impressive thing, the battery life, because no matter who you are, that is something that is going to resonate with you. And that's kind of like the overarching theme with these M1 chips. You're getting a lot of power without using so much power. These things are very energy efficient and use only a fraction of the power that was necessary in the last model. Apple has even improved the image processing on the FaceTime camera. So it's still 720p, but because of the M1 chip, the image signal processor should be a lot better, so it should be less noisy. Basically, if you want to use this for FaceTime and Zoom calls and all that, it should look a lot better. And with the MacBook Air, we are no longer looking at just a web browsing device. This is now something that can potentially be used for more professional work. But that still has to be seen. We are going to test it all out. In terms of changes to the MacBook Air, I think that's pretty much all of them. What am I missing, Jay?
Do they have faster SSD?
Oh, you're right. They do have faster SSDs, so that makes this thing even snappier. So if you're copying files, doing all that, a faster SSD is a must. Apple makes some extremely fast solid state drives, so your system's going to run even faster than last year's model, which is nuts. But we'll see. We gotta test it all out. Shall we get to the other products though? Let's go to the MacBook Pro. For those of you who are professionals out there and who feel like you might need a little bit more than the MacBook Air offers. And we'll kind of talk about the fact that they all have M1 chips and what makes these devices different. If you're trying to pick one up, why not just go for the cheapest, right? If they all just have that M1 chip. But I'll explain. So inside this box, you get your 13-inch MacBook Pro. You still get your USB Type-C, paperwork, and a larger power brick. Standard stuff. Let's talk about the device. That was kind of funky. That wasn't smooth at all. But okay, here we have the 13-inch MacBook Pro. Overall, this is a very similar looking MacBook Pro, but on the outside, there is one big change. We got two Thunderbolt ports over here, but none over here. So now we are only looking at two Thunderbolt ports. We also have the headphone jack over here. It's actually kind of surprising that we only have two here. It's actually extremely similar to the MacBook Air, but let's talk about some of those differences. So let's open this up. It sounds great, it sounds great. But let's talk about what separates this from the MacBook Air. So first things first, you've got that touch bar, which I personally really like. I think there are people out there who don't like the touch bar, but I love it. I wish they would come out with a Magic Keyboard with just the touch bar. Like if that were a separate thing for like the iMac.
English is the main language. Press the return key.
We're not gonna touch anything. I wish they would make a Magic Keyboard with the touch bar for my iMac. That would be amazing. You also get studio microphones built into this. Now, this is supposed to be a professional laptop. Someone who does creative work would probably want a laptop like this. Me personally, I really like the fact that these have studio microphones. They've saved me in a pinch in doing voiceovers for my videos. They actually are really impressive, and I've been able to sneak in some audio with no problem. So in a situation where, you know, you might need the studio mics, this thing has that built in. Now, what's also different is the fact that this thing has a fan inside of it. So you have a fan built inside of here. Now you might be wondering, why do you need a fan inside of this if you didn't need it inside of this, right? Well, this is the MacBook Pro, right? So let's say you are a professional doing video editing or anything like that. You might be working for hours on end, and while you can probably work on this for quite a few hours, at some point, not having fans will catch up and you won't be able to sustain that same level of performance. Whereas with the MacBook Pro, you'll be able to go for hours and hours and hours and still keep that peak performance because of the fans. So while this can definitely do professional work, and we'll see for how long, this thing is supposed to be geared towards people who want to do professional work for a long period of time. So that's what the idea is behind this. So definitely pros in mind for this version. Now there is another spec difference between the two of these guys with the M1 chip. Now for the most part, they're all the same chip, but they're just slightly different. I don't want to get super technical here for the average person out there, but let's just say this thing has 7 cores unlocked versus 8 cores unlocked on this guy. And basically what that means is you'll see a slight bump in performance over here if you want to do more, like I said, that professional work and, you know, graphic intensive stuff. You'll see a little bit better performance on this guy, but for the most part, they all should perform really well. Now, I do believe if you go one level up on the MacBook Air, you get more storage. You get 512 gigs, and you also get that 8th core unlocked, so you get that better performance there. But for the most part, they should be pretty close, but this is slightly better. Now, this laptop has also seen crazy improvements in terms of power and battery life. I think this one, video playback is up to like 20 hours, which, come on now. We've seen those 20-hour claims before on laptops. They just don't make sense. But for some reason, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of trust Apple. I can't wait to see just how long the battery lasts on these laptops, because if Apple makes a claim like that, there's gotta be some truth behind it. But we'll see, we gotta test it, right? And get to the actual nitty gritty. We'll find out. We won't blindly trust, but Apple has a pretty good track record. And of course, this has some of the same features with the instant on, the better FaceTime quality from the front-facing camera, and better battery life. Am I missing anything? Faster SSDs. But yeah, I think that is a nice little summary of the MacBook Pro and its difference with the MacBook Air. So if you're having a hard time choosing between the two of them, maybe wait for my video where I, kind of review them all, and that might help a little bit more. But for the most part, those are the differences. Now, for one of the most inexpensive Macs ever, we have the Mac Mini. Now, for those of you who aren't even familiar with the Mac Mini, you might be thinking, the heck is that? This is basically Apple's, what did you say, Carl?
Me.
Carl has no idea what this is. Basically, you can think of this as Apple's version of having a tower. So like the tower that you need to get a monitor for, you plug it in, this and that, it has everything you need inside of it. That's what this is. It doesn't have the keyboard or anything like that, you gotta get your own. But if you want the Mac operating system, you get it in this guy. And this is actually, honestly, my first Mac Mini ever. And this is actually kind of cool. It's so small. But this is it. This thing is also packing the M1 chip. So we're getting similar power and performance here, but this, of course, has a larger active cooling system. So those fans and all that, you'll be able to sustain those crazy peak performance speeds and all that for much longer on this guy. Let's open it up. Oh, this is dope, man. Oh, and check out the I/O in the back. That's clean. So what we've got over here, guys, we've got our power button, our power port, Ethernet port, we've got 2 Thunderbolt ports, HDMI, and 2 USB ports, as well as a headphone jack, and your exhaust for your fan. Yo, no lie, part of me wants to hook it up to the TV. I just want to have like every system possible hooked up to this TV. Oh, I don't have enough HDMI ports. Dang. TVs need to come with like 8 HDMI ports. That needs to be a thing.
At least.
But inside the box, beyond this, you also get, of course, paperwork, and a nice black cable. This is cool. And that's about it.
That's it?
Yeah, it's an Apple unboxing, Jay. It's minimal. But what's nice here is that even though this thing got a power boost in terms of like the specs because of the M1 chip, Apple brought down the price and it is now $699. So I think it used to start at $799. $699 if you want to pick up one of these guys. And I don't think we talked about pricing for the other models as well. So this guy over here, the MacBook Air, starts at $999, $1299 for the Pro, and $699 for the Mac Mini. And let me just put it out there, guys. This is exciting stuff. Why? Because this is what's going to impact the average consumer more than any spec bump. While you can get some maybe extremely powerful laptops, Apple maybe could have pushed this to just be the most powerful laptop in the world. There are a lot of people out there who might not take advantage of that. They might not be able to use all that power. They just don't have a need for it. But every single person out there has a need for better battery life on their devices. So this is going to hit home for people no matter what you use the laptop for. So I think this is very, very exciting and kind of pushes the MacBooks in a new direction, a better direction. Now we just have to see how they perform, how applications run with them and things that aren't Apple-based apps. And that's something we didn't even talk about. Apple-based apps are supposed to run a lot faster, just supposed to open up a lot quicker. We'll get to that in our review, but for now, I'm excited. Anyway, I'm rambling. Guys, we'll talk in the next video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, be the cool guy or girl that gives the video a thumbs up. This was a bit of a nerdy one, this video, I'd say. But if it helped, let me know with a comment down below. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Till then, it's your average consumer. Peace. I gotta figure out how to get this thing connected to the TV.